Thank you, Matthew. I'll just give a very brief introduction. I'm not going to go through it in the detail we'd normally on a presentation about Scott Bramrig and who we are. So, we are a global practice. Predominantly the majority of our staff are sort of UK based and our studios within that, but we do have presences across the globe, and our projects, like most architectural practices, do range right around the globe. Currently at about 210 staff. We do service multiple sectors, provide a number of different services. Even some of the newer ones like the digital twin is sort of the digital view of your building and sort of how it interacts with the world. And a lot of the research bits and pieces that stick behind a lot of this stuff and drive it forward. We are employee owned only, so only employees can be shareholders within the business. The majority shareholders are probably our board, but we've got a pretty reasonable split between male and female. Still sort of challenges to reach the right levels around the sort of technical staff. We spend an awful lot of time developing our staff and providing sort of training for them. And from, there's quite a big diversity within that of where they have come from. The challenge, we were facing, we started this journey a little while back now, sort of looking at when we rebuilt our intranet, renamed from SBNet to Compass. We worked with the original developer to pull that together, and we started this journey of trying to pull information from multiple places into one platform. But what we didn't necessarily have was that detailed ability to be able to sort of do two-way integration pieces with a lot of those systems. We could pull information out, but we couldn't necessarily push information back into them. And like a lot of architectural practices, we've got some pretty sort of, I would term as pretty bespoke software out there supporting certain things, and some pretty niche software supporting other areas. Uforma, again, there for our document management. We've got Deltek PIM as our project accounting system. Sage for finance. Pinnacle is the learning platform for training materials, how-tos and things like that. Cascade is our HR system. Spider is another in-house developed system, more for early stage inquiries and sort of gateway checks to see that projects are right for us as a business. Do they meet our ethical requirements? Is it funded legally? Have we got all those? Have we asked the right questions around a project, and what's it likely to cost us to sort of get that bid underway, and what's the final project fee likely to be like, so that we can ask those sensible questions and make sure we're only really focusing on the projects that are right for us. EM Perform is our career development piece. Again, this is more down, want to take it away from it being manager-led to being employee-led. And we've looked at a few platforms for this. Again, that is something we are potentially challenging, and have had discussions with Flow 10 about, is this something we could pull into their platform. DocuWare, we've taken the PO piece out of PIM just because it wasn't really sort of working for us, and moved it into another bit of software. So that we've got integration that's putting information out of Sage and Deltek and sort of pushing information back to the two of them and allowing for better approvals. And again, we're interfacing that back into Flow 10 for approvals, and then asset for the image library. It's a lot of information out there. We've got a lot of bits and pieces, and then what sits on top of that, as we're doing fee proposals and fee agreements, is people are entering information again into templated documents, whether that's in Microsoft Word or sort of what was in Adobe, or potentially moving that now into Affinity Suite. So there was lots of duplicate entry, lots of people not knowing exactly where to go, lots of different action items. You've got action items in Deltek PM, you've got action items in Uforma, you've potentially got action items in Teams. action items from Perform, action items from Cascade, and it's people often not knowing exactly where they've got to go to get things done. So, we looked around, looked at some solutions and spoke with Flow 10. The reasons that we thought this was a great fit for us is one, they were going down that right road already in far of what they showed us. And, some of the pieces that delved into Deltek TIM really sort of resonated with us. We had an existing relationship with both Matthew and Aidan because we sort of chatted to them about work we'd done in the past, and particularly with Aidan, we'd sort of been doing some work for us on other sort of side projects we've been doing. They had that existing solution and a vision of where they wanted to take it, and they wanted to engage in a collaborative design process with us. So it wasn't just about the ideas they had. They wanted their clients to sort of be bringing new ideas, new ways of working, and sort of have those discussions and work in a way that is what I would term as a more iterative approach, as sort of, let's try this, get it out, get it live, see how it works, see what we need to tweak and move it forward, which for me is always a better solution around a lot of these things rather than trying to do that big upfront design first and then build it all. And then by the time it's live, it's probably sort of out of date and not quite where we want to be. So where are we now? So, we've had a sort of very successful and fast-moving project to this point. And, thanks to the whole team there for the work they've done in getting us to this point. We called it My Compass because basically we're hooking it onto the side of Compass. We've done a lot of work with our intranet, and certain things I think we've done quite well there. So, page ownership is something that's pretty good. We've got lots of people contributing to content onto our intranet. We've got lots of sort of feeds coming with useful information in there and sort of around our processes and how they work, and the hooks that then go off to sort of the training platforms. It didn't seem like a good idea to sort of reinvent it all and move everything instantly within a different platform when we had a lot of it working reasonably well. The reason we call it My Compass, because this is much more focused towards the actions that you need to take when you're there, rather than more of a generalistic information about the practice in total and information. So some of it feeds directly from there, and sort of things like the news stories, they're entered by our marketing team and put onto Compass. It feeds both in Compass and on My Compass. But, the key is that side that talks about the My Reminders. And as sort of Matthew showed earlier, it's showing you what tasks you've got outstanding. And if you click on those links, it'll take you through to the system that you need to be actioning that on. It shows you also sort of the projects you're resourced on. One of the biggest challenges we find is you've got projects that you're running as a manager, so you want to be able to see all of those projects. You want to be able to drill into the staff and see who's available to be working on it. You've got the design development bit, advanced, the HR hub, which is Cascade, and the Pinnacle bit for the training pieces. If you go on to the next, there's things about the current project statuses. So, we've got a tracker piece that Flow 10 have built in for us. We've got KPIs we're measuring against, the resource allocation, the profit of those projects, other pieces around that. And then sort of you've got bits down the bottom. I've blurred out the names to protect the guilty. As who are the biggest debtors that are related to the projects that person is working on, so that if they're having conversations with those people, they know who to be talking to and when to be talking to them and trying to get the payment in. Other things is looking at, the tasks that are there. With any of these, you can click in, get to the detail page. It'll drive you more details. You can click through to the next systems to see what's more in there. This is the task tracker. So, with each project, we have a number of activities that need to happen. Some potentially won't apply to all projects, depends on the size, complexity of the projects. But we wanted that ability to be able to track this and create the tasks And, you know, from audit purposes, it means that we've got an easy point when they come in to look at that, to show all the activity and actions that have happened, who actioned it, who completed it, and when it happened. The other key one for us was finding those resources who are available to work on tasks and work on projects. You know, so we got folk then to enhance the search, sort of pull the resource allocations from Deltec, you know, to pull the classifications of people's skills. A lot of this was held currently in Compass, our intranet, or is held in the HR systems or the training systems. So pulling all that information together to get a rating on people. So in this instance, I clicked on someone with Revit skills and BIM 360 skills, and you can sort of do that search. It will show the people who have been rated highest at the top, and then it'll also show their availability or their resource allocation numbers at the moment, to allow people to identify someone that they can then talk to or potentially pull onto their project to do the work. You know, and that was something that we'd had to before. They'd probably gone through 3 systems to find that information. You know, and next stages we're sort of looking at going into is, you know, things like the fee proposals and fee agreements, you know, rather than those being Word templates that we have sort of built macros and scripts against to pull a lot of the back-end information from Union Square, you know, to actually sort of drive that in a better process and almost just be a click button to generate the template straight out of there, you know, and give them options to select what are the different features or different sections that they want to include within that proposal. One, to simplify it, and two, to sort of just make it a much quicker process for them. You know, a lot of what we're trying to do now is pull the time back for those designers to be doing the design rather than back-end management and controls of the project.
Simon, that's fantastic. Really appreciate it, and thank you again for agreeing to answer a few questions. We do have a number of those. How long has it taken to get to this point, and how has staff feedback been?
I don't know when we had our first conversations, but I mean, actual development work really started sort of end of last year. So, you know, we're probably only talking sort of 4 months, 4 to 5 months to get us to the point we are at the moment. And, you know, the feedback from a lot of the staff has been very positive. Now, it's the fact that they can see in one place what they need to do, what they need to be focusing on, and, you know, haven't got to be jumping through multiple systems. So, you know, as much as we've still got this, you know, we're not in an ideal place where you've got My Compass and Compass, but the fact that they've got that dropping page, and we always land on My Compass first, and people just with a bit of training know, you know, if they've got to do a search for something else, they might switch over. But the searches within My Compass search all of the intranet in Compass as well. So, you know, they only need to really sit in one place. It's just more of the catch-all we've left it.
And the final question is, this looks great, but some of my directors think we have enough software already. Any recommendations for how to get them on board?
I mean, the biggest thing is, for me, is around how do you take, you know, if you look at software that's out there, I think you get to the point where you almost want, you know, we're not big businesses. We can't roll out and afford to pay for something, you know, like a Salesforce.com, where you could redevelop and do everything on one platform and make it all work and it'd be fully integrated and everything working. We're always going to have little bits of niche software and niche pieces and processes we need to cover. You know, so for me, this is about pulling all those little bits of software together into one area that allows people to have one window to it all. You know, so if anything, you're simplifying their view of the back end, which, you know, quite often we're better off with some of those little niche bits of software because they do the job better and closer to the way we want to be working.